Oh, I blooming love Let It Shine. It's my real guilty pleasure.
I mean, again, the Ollie Murs one and then Beverly Knight. I lost interest after that. But the first two groups I thought it was cracking Saturday night entertainment.
Yeah, there's one guy who in the auditions he sang an Alicia Keys song, and that sets me off every time.
I love Alicia Keys. I'm a big fan of hers. I do her karaoke.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning, Judith.
Hello, Nicola. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. On and off. How's the weather in Blighty?
Funnily enough, I've been working for a couple of hours already, but that question was the first time I'd sort of looked out of the window and evaluated it. It's overcast, it's dry, but mild, is what I would say. How about where you are?
Ditto, actually. It's halfway between fresh and toasty, according to the old thermometer.
Okay.
And Phoebe's forbidden any mention of the thermometer in my V-scene. She's bored stiff with it. So she's asserting her creative directorialship and saying, no more thermometer talk.
Okay, because I don't watch the VZ and I wasn't aware of thermometer talk, but clearly, poor girl, if she's got to work on it, then there you go. There's the
She's got to make me look both amusing, exciting, and clever. That was the brief.
Well, there's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because we Brits are obsessed by the weather wherever we are, aren't we?
I know. Lord help of our international listeners.
Yes.
Now, I've had my 3 sales letters back. I haven't done anything with them yet. They're very salesy, and I'm thinking that I won't put them in my front end welcome sequence. I'll put them in the sequence that everyone goes into after they haven't bought anything, after they've been through like a segmentation sequence. So, because they are quite, full-on sales letter styley. So, I've got nothing to lose by that stage, so I might as well. Episode 3 of the V-Zine was published, and my next book is ready to go. Mindset, Marketing and Money, it's called. And the strapline, 1 second caller, the strapline is...
Oh, that's funny. I've got to look up the strapline of my own book.
Yes, I know. Ha ha. No, you know what? I can't even find it. Hang on, here it is. It's a lovely cover. I'm very pleased with the cover. Successful entrepreneurs reveal their 3 biggest secrets about business and online success.
Where can you see that? I can't see that.
It's on my screen. Obviously not. Not for you. Anyway, because I've chosen the specific window. I think it's showing you this specific window. Anyway, so it's the first 6 full interviews from people like Rich Sheffer, James Schramko, Jenny Hott, the $1 Million Blogger, Margaret Kim, as she was then, now Margaret Wright, the flip chick. So I've got 2 girls and 4 guys. Dan Norris is in there as well. And I realised that I'm well over the book. I mean, they tell you to make it something like, is it 45 pages? I've always thought that was too short for a book. But I'm up to 180 pages with 6 interviews. So I'm thinking with the next one, because I've got some really cool people. I've still got John Lee Dumas. I've got Rich Bit, Denise Duffield-Thomas. I've got some really cool people still. So I think I'll go with the most famous people for the first three books, and then I think I'll perhaps group other people together into, say, just a book about money, just a book about marketing, just a book about mindset. So I can spin the content lots of different ways, but it really got me quite thrilled when I was working through the transcriptions and, just doing a bit of minor editing. And I thought this content is superb. So I'm looking forward to pressing the button on it later today. It'll be on Kindle later today, hopefully for nothing. And by the time everyone listens to this, of course, it will have been up for a week. So do go and get a copy. What's your week been like? It's
been a week of 2 halves, which is I had, as you will hear more later, a very successful trip to get my new passport in hand. And flushed with success by that, I thought, I'll do another few things that need doing. I've got my annual contact lens checkup on Friday. and I've got the hairdresser coming today. My brother surprised me with an invitation to his 60th birthday party. He doesn't really do, he doesn't celebrate his own birthday, so that took me quite by surprise. And then I realised I had a very nice frock that I can actually get into now, thanks to my low-carb thing. So I had to buy some sparkly shoes and a sparkly handbag to go with. And that's what leads to the rant, which is about couriers. Oh, my God. What a useless bunch of they are. One of them, a company that sends my little yellow pill, my turmeric tablet monthly from the Netherlands, always used to use a company called Doyle, who are well down on my list of favourite couriers.
Yeah, they're not good.
Because they're inept. And whether or not they've been swamped with complaints about Doyle, I don't know. But with no warning, they switched to another one called GLS. And GLS attempted to deliver this month's supply, but discovered that they didn't have enough address information to do that. I'm not altogether sure why. And so because I couldn't find my building, they couldn't leave me a postcard. Now, try and reclaim a parcel from a courier without a postcard. But I went on their website and I found their secret number, and I managed to work my way through their press this for that and that for this, none of which applied, of course, and eventually speak to a human being last Tuesday, said it would be delivered on Wednesday, and it wasn't. So I rang again on Thursday and lost my rag slightly, and they promised that it would come on Friday, but it didn't. And so I rang on Monday, and they put me through from their office to the people they kept trying to correct the address with, according to them. And when I eventually got through to the Mitcham, South London sorting office, it transpired that none of my previous phone calls had been cascaded down to them. I found a woman who got a grip at that office, and indeed it was delivered yesterday. But actually, if you took these people at their word and say, oh, don't panic, because they say it's coming tomorrow, you'd just wait for the rest of your life for this stuff to come, honestly. And, you know, I'm torn horribly between being laid back and thinking it'll get here, and being all over them like a rash and Mrs. Angry.
Yeah, yeah. And do you ask for their names?
Well, in the end, once I got the woman at the actual sorting office, I was confident the parcel would arrive, and indeed it did. And actually, there was a better situation with Marks and Spencer's and my sparkly shoes, where their system was such that I knew immediately they couldn't find the building. I don't know what's the matter with these people, can't find the building. I do secretly know what that is, but let's say they couldn't. And I phoned the man up, or the man tried to phone me. I didn't answer because I was round the front looking for him. And I rang back, and he came back. And the reason why none of these people can find me, even though I live on a very easy street in South London, is because I live in a building which used to be one building and was then divided into 6 flats. And you know how you put your postcode in and it offers you the population of the address autofill?
Yeah.
Well, they still never caught on after 9 years that we're divided into 6 flats. So it either takes the flat number and misses off the house number, or takes the house number and misses the flat number, basically. But now I'm wise, and it's happened twice in a week. After 9 years, this is still happening. And now I know, as I'm about to move house, now I discover what I need to double, triple check with these people. But if they can possibly get it wrong, they will.
Oh, God, infuriating.
But the good news is today, at the end of this rant, which is allowed, gentle listener, in this section, which is entitled One Thing About Your Week, brackets, could include a mini rant.
Yeah.
All parcels are on board. They've all arrived, which is good. So I have a sparkly handbag, 2 pairs of sparkly shoes, and my yellow turmeric tablets.
So not only will you be able to dance because of the turmeric tablets, you'll have the things to dance in and swing in your handbag at the same time.
I'm very, very pleased with my handbag. I might show you a picture later. It's lovely.
That'd be awesome. Share that on Facebook.
I do love a bit of sparkle. It would have to be said. In fact, I have to rein in my bling quotient quite a lot. Otherwise, it goes a bit cruise.
A bit cruisy. There's nothing wrong with
that.
So the lady at the post office, she took responsibility for the situation and made it all.
Well, in the end, if you beat them down, the first one was a woman and the second one was a woman, but eventually you get through to a sensible woman. I don't know if you remember last month's rant was about the non-delivery of the coffee, and the first person no good, second person no good, third person somehow, the third time lucky it seems to be, they get a grip. You reach the adult that's prepared to not just pay lip service to I'm sorting out your problem, but actually sorting out your problem. I think they take pity on me, that's what happened.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
I've realised I haven't told you about my Facebook saga. Do you want?
No, you haven't. You haven't. Tell us.
To update you. Okay. So here's the thing for anyone who hasn't listened before. I've run Facebook ads successfully for 4 or 5 years now, for myself and then for lots of different clients in lots of different niches. I have rarely, if ever, had an ad refused, let alone have an account closed down. It happened to me once because the client had a series of accounts closed down and kept doing the wrong things. And as soon as they opened a new account and I started work on it, it got closed down. Anyway, I did actually manage to get that reinstated, that account. So it's a matter of pride for me that I'm a good Facebook ads runner. And so I was a little disconcerted when they summarily closed my account about 2 weeks ago. And then what happens is they don't send you an email. They send you an email if your ad's refused, and you have to go and twitch it. And you can often get to talk to a real person about what's wrong with your specific ad if you genuinely can't work it out yourself. They really put the onus on you to find out what's wrong. Anyway, my account was closed down. It seemed to be from the message that it was some sort of financial issue. So after about a week of guessing and appealing and guessing and appealing and guessing and appealing, I finally found out that it was because they thought my bank business card, which was brand new, was fraudulent. So I then went to my bank and they couldn't help me at all. And then what happened was I got a new bank card, bought 2 things in America. They'd slapped a fraud thing on it. I spoke to the fraud department. They lifted the fraud thing because it was obviously fine. But perhaps in the meantime, Facebook had tried to take a payment. I don't know. There's nobody you can talk to at Facebook. There's nobody you can talk to at the bank who will talk to Facebook. So you're stuck. Then I tried to put in my personal card, and bear in mind you have to wait a couple of days for each thing. You have to appeal. You have to find the right form to appeal with, because if you don't find the right form, then you can't put the right information in. After a while, your account disappears from the drop-down list, so the only way that they'll let you fill in a form is if you select an account from the drop-down list, even if it's not the one you're talking about. I could go on ad nauseum about this. Anyway, after about 2 weeks, I got both my accounts reinstated. So I went to them to put a payment method in, because obviously I needed to pay with something. And I put my personal business account in, my personal Lloyd's account card in, even though I didn't want to pay with my personal account. And it triggered off the security alert again. So both of them stepped down. So then I went and appealed again. And I said, look, in the meantime, I've still got this niggling sensation there might be something wrong with my ads, even though they'd run 3 months successfully. So finally, someone at Facebook customer support sent me a little video that I had to watch the entire thing through, 10 minutes, step by step, really basic stuff. And there was one little bit in it I thought, oh, I wonder if it's that. Because what they're very hot on is you sending people to the same domain name as the one that's on display on the ad. So if you put nicolacairncross.com on your ad, you have to send them to something that looks like nicolacairncross.com when they arrive. Obviously, Lead Pages doesn't look anything like that. It says leadpages.carenext.com/name of the form. So I imported the form to my website so that I was actually sending them to nicolacairncross.com. But then it still got refused, and it turns out they don't like you using more than one bit of software. So I was using Lead Pages to opt people in, and then jumping them to a type form to take 2 questions from them. Now, this has been running for 3 months, very successfully. I've had something like 600 responses on that type form, and I've had something like 2,500 people through the opt-in. And it's never been an issue before. But I contacted them. I said, look, I think I might have figured out the issue. I've been using 2 bits of software. I tell people on the ad that they're going to have to enter their details and then fill in 2 questions to get the book. So I'm being very upfront on the ad, which they like you to do. But anyway, so that got my business ad account turned back on again. Then I went to put in one of my credit cards, because I couldn't pay with any of my bank cards now. And it triggered a security alert again, so the whole lot got shut down again. And this was, we must be up to 3 or 4 weeks by now. Anyway, I finally realised that I've got 2 other cards I could use to pay. I appealed again. They reinstated my ad account again, my business ad account again. And I've got some obscure credit card that I barely ever use, which I've now got to remember to transfer money over to, because it's a pay-as-you-go card.
Yeah.
And it's just, the whole thing has just been massively stressful. And it was stressful because they don't tell you what's wrong. You have to try and figure it out yourself. You have to wait a day or 2 for any email response. And that email response is parroting, set lines that they're obviously given to say to you. So the onus is on you. And the other thing is it just makes you feel helpless, Judith. And, it makes you feel like you're up against Big Brother.
It's the same issue I have with the couriers, which is you can't talk to anybody. And actually, I've come up with a joke while I've been listening to, which is it's faceless, isn't it? You can't talk to anybody.
Yes. And, I do understand that their first concern is for their users. I understand that. They want to protect their users against unscrupulous advertisers. But in this case, quite obviously, I'm not an unscrupulous advertiser. I'm someone who's had an issue with a card. Anyway, I won't go through.
The vast majority of their advertisers are people with your skill set who are going to want to marry up lead pages with something else. They've just got to get with it. I don't know what's the matter with them. I mean, I've lost patience with it already. I just think that's the most annoying thing I've ever heard.
I don't actually think, in retrospect, that was the issue, because everyone uses lots of different bits of software.
Right.
I just think it was this whole security thing. But when you go into your account, there's a different message flashing up at the top. Your brain just can't leave it alone. You're thinking about it when you're in the shower. You're thinking about it when you're putting wood on the fire. You're thinking about when you're cooking your dinner. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? And I was facing the thought of never being able to generate any more leads unless I do another training course, to get YouTube advertising on the go. It was just...
Is it all working again now?
No, my personal account is still shut down. My business account is running perfectly.
Okay. And do you think it's the same issue, the credit card one?
Yeah, it is, because I tried to put it in somewhere else. I actually opened an ad account for Phoebe and tried to put, the business card in there, and it wouldn't have it either. So it didn't shut her account down, though. So I just went and used the obscure credit card.
What does it not like about your new business credit card?
It says it's a security risk. It's fraudulent. And I cannot get them to change their minds on that, which is infuriating, because it means I'm going to have to now order a new...
I know, it makes your accounting terribly complicated.
It does. Yeah. And, I've got to order a new business bank card, but I don't want to do that because I've only just set up all my direct debits.
Oh, I understand.
It's just horrendous.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about my little rant. I just thought you needed to be updated on that.
Right, so for God's sake, tell me something positive in the What's Fueled Your Fire section.
Okay, I've signed up to Tacky Moore's $1 Million Coach webinar tuition. He's doing a 6-week course before he launches this. It's going to be a big launch in April, May, and he wanted just a few more people to go through it that would actually do the work. And he was offering it at a knockdown price because he wants good case studies. And I signed up to it because, as I said to him, right content, right time. I know I've got to make myself do a webinar for my new Pivot Point course. And I also know I've got to do a webinar for my Inner Circle membership, because people sign up to things from webinars. They don't really very often sign up to things from emails as much. So I've got to do it. I hate doing it. I'm not going to do it live because I hate doing it live. I get very pissed off when people don't turn up, which is ironic because I never turn up for webinars. I always want to watch the recording. So I'm very happy to make a webinar and then put it onto autopilot, but I'm not very keen to do a live webinar, even though you sell more from live webinars. Apparently, I can't be bothered to do it. The thing I like about Tacky is he's high energy, he's a big picture thinker, and he uses tools that I find very useful called frameworks, and they're very simple and very visual, and I like him.
I've written this down, but you got ahead of me. Tacky Moore $1 Million Coach webinar. What's it called?
I don't know what the course is going to be called yet. It's still study group stage, as he calls it.
Okay.
He's $1millioncoach.com.
Yeah. Okay. But it's a course about learning how to sell from webinars.
Well, how to structure your webinars better.
Okay.
Because I've been through several webinar trainings, and I still don't feel I've got a handle on it yet. I still feel I give too much tuition and not enough close, if you know what I mean.
Did I send you that recording that John Richardson gave me?
I don't know if you did.
I'll send it to you. I think
you'll
like it very much, because he teaches people how to sell for webinars via a selling webinar.
Oh, very good.
And and he gave me a copy of the. I went to it, actually listened to it.
I've got several webinars on autopilot. One, the most successful of which is my Best Year Yet webinar, but it's not geared to sell anything specific. It was more free giveaway kind of webinar. So,
did you see that your friend of mine, Mark Mawini, was having a debate about webinars yesterday?
No. What was he saying?
Well, it might be worth going back to have a look, because both sides of the argument about webinars were put.
Yeah. See, I'm someone who I'll always want to watch the recording. You know, if I sign up for a webinar, I will rarely turn up, because I'm not going to sit up into the middle of the night. I know it's on autopilot, and I'm not going to do it. So I'll always wait for the recording. And if I like it, I'll buy from the recording. But it is proven that more people do turn up live. It's that commitment factor again, you see. That's why I put an opt-in in front of my survey, because I got more survey responses when I put an opt-in first. It's Robert Cialdini's Mini Commitments. Mm. Yeah, okay, I'll go and have a look. Mark Winnie.
He opened a debate yesterday about, ostensibly he was talking about what do you use to do webinars, because he'd been using GoToWebinar and he wanted to move to something else. But the debate morphed into, is there any point in trying to sell from a webinar?
People won't read, Judith. You know, I sent out a long email this week.
Just read the thing, because it puts both sides of the argument.
Moving on then. So what's fueled your fire?
Well, I had a fun half an hour yesterday with Georgina, who's a very devout listener of ours. She's one of those, oh, thank goodness it's Friday fans, and she was a client of mine the year before last, lives in Jersey, doing terribly well with her EFT business. She wanted to talk to me. She said she was, Jersey is a beautiful place to live, and she walks her little sausage dog called Heinz along the beach. And she was listening to our podcast, and she wrote me an email saying, you've got this fantastic way of turning every neg round to a pause. Can I interview you about that? Which, funnily enough, wasn't what we really ended up talking about. But it was a lovely half an hour, which she's going to turn into something for her list, and I'll be able to share in a fortnight or so's time as well. And it's just nice to reconnect with a person and talk about things of interest to us both, one of which is EFT.
Would you like to hear about 18 proven ways to enjoy a successful location-independent business and the freedom to live wherever you like? Own It the Summit is a pack of 18 dynamite interview recordings with globally successful entrepreneurs, sharing their secrets of the real laptop lifestyle. We handpicked each of these people to interview to show you how to set yourself free to design your ideal lifestyle, whether working from home or travelling the world, while running a successful virtual business that you absolutely love. Just visit ownitthesummit.com and get your hands on these life-changing recordings today.
Very nice. So, client challenge of the week then.
Yes, so we haven't really got one, have we?
No, we've come to the end of the well, because we don't really get many suggestions for them, and we have plumbed the depths of our own experience. And although I do hang out in lots of groups and I do keep my eyes open for it, one of our challenges is that it's eternal problems, isn't it, that cycle round.
Well, I'm just going to give some context to this, as I'm so pleased that you've got stuck on episode 118, because, of course, I took the responsibility for this for the first 100 and something episodes, and you've run out within 18, which is marvellous for me, because it was bloody hard work coming up with a new challenge every week for 2 years, and you were a bit shocked when I said, oh, I found it terribly stressful, and you were prepared to take it on. But the fact is, it's a really hard job.
Yeah, because business startup issues are the same for everyone, and it's quite difficult to come up with, we've done how many episodes? 118. So we've done 118 individual client challenges.
Yeah. Some of there's been a fair amount of crossover, but I would say 90 of them are probably unique. Yes, yeah. And we've run out now. And something's coming up, because we agreed at the beginning we didn't know what we would talk about, but something's coming up. Yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it might have been Monday. I had one of my group calls, and the first lady wanted to talk about customer avatar, and I gave her the benefit of my opinion on that. And then there was a second client and the third client, and then the fourth one who hadn't heard the first conversation came in and wanted to talk about her customer avatar. So I gave her a variation of my opinion on it. And then an email or a message came into our group saying, I'm so sorry, I've listened to the recording, but I want to come in on Wednesday and talk about my customer avatar. And I went, no problem, because it isn't the same advice for everybody. The customer avatar is different for each of my clients in their through the filter of their respective businesses. So the reason I think I never get bored with discussing perennial problems that we've all got is, for me, they're different. What makes each one different is the client and their... So, for instance, something you just said there, if I were coaching you around that issue of the webinars, and you'd say, I never go to a webinar live, even though I know I will sell better from a live one, I'm quite happy to do it on autopilot. I would always say to the client, sell as you buy. If you don't go to live ones, don't do live ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's inauthentic.
Yeah, several things are coming. I never tell people they're live. I let people assume they're live if they want.
Yeah. But the same thing with the avatars. It's different for everybody. But one of the things. So I always like discussing everybody's problems with them, because it's never the same twice. I don't find. That's the difficulty in this section for us, is that we have to generalize it, because we don't have a client that we're talking to.
Sometimes we've got a client in mind. This avatar thing, I mean, I've been through this course, my spirit business, and one of the things about that was working out who your avatar was in terms of Ferris Mooney's archetypes, and also working out what your archetype was, so that you could create what they call story arc from your avatar to theirs. And I'm not sure that it hasn't added a whole other level of stress to my marketing, because although it really helped me connect... Well,
I think it's a load of old codswallop, which is why I talk client 1 and client 2 and client 3, but I'm prepared to discuss it. I don't have a client avatar.
Well, you sort of do in a way, but it's not... Remember in the olden days...
my first client on Monday is an expert. She can make depression go away, so you never have to have it again in your life. And the third one is a marketer. The second one's a marketer and the third one's a marketer, and I'm a business coach. And all 4 of us believe that we can help anybody. And that's true, we can help anybody. And the difficulty is, of course, that's not a useful marketing place. You need to give somebody hooks that they can hang on to or see themselves in, I think. But actually, the archetypes and the avatars, you can stick it where the sun don't shine, as far as I'm concerned, because I just think it's quite helpful at the beginning to give yourself some structure to work around when you don't really know who you are yet. But once you become confident at what you do, you throw your avatar out the window.
Well, I was going to say, in the olden days, back in the late 80s, no, it can't have been 80s, so it must have been 90s, late 90s, when you and I, and we were first getting started, what we used to do was we used to create our content and know that we would attract the right people. And we did that very successfully individually and with the Money Gym. And our people who came to our workshops were all of a certain type. They were all of, sort of 30 to 55-ish. They were mainly women, some men. They wanted to know about property. They wanted to leave. We had a type, didn't we? Which I suppose you could call an avatar. But they found us rather than us going out looking for them specifically. And the thing I've been reflecting on this week is that I've created this avatar who I can see very clearly in my head, because I've got several clients who fit that avatar, some of which are listeners to the podcast. But everyone that signed up to my membership site this week hasn't been one of those people.
No, you don't say.
Completely different.
You don't say. On Monday morning, I did one of my Pay What You Want calls with somebody who couldn't use Skype and didn't want to use PayPal. And there's only 2 rules of my calls, which is we do it on Skype and you use PayPal. And it's not the first time I've worked with this woman. We work extremely well together. But guess what? She doesn't follow either of my 2 rules. So
if that would have been, yes, okay. So how do you work with someone who can't use 2 of the basic tools that you use?
Well, funnily enough, strangely enough, it works out absolutely fine.
Yeah.
We make an appointment. We're not strangers to one another anymore. We make an appointment. I mean, the first time it happened, I was annoyed and it worked out fine. The second time it happens, it's not a problem, because you know the person and you know that later that day they'll send you money online instead of via PayPal.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, if you police this rigid, ideal client thing, she wouldn't fall into it, and yet she's fine. We do good work together.
Yeah, it's been like the whole. Okay, so here's the thing about courses. I mean, why have I signed up to a webinar creation course? I mean, I largely signed up because I knew it would force me to do it. Whereas I've got probably all the knowledge I need to do a successful webinar. And if I haven't, I could improve on it. I could get the first one up and improve on it as I go. But because I don't want to do it, I felt I had to buy a course to force me to do it, because I don't want to look like an idiot who doesn't take action to this guy. And, I just know it'll force me to do it. And he's providing the structure and the framework to work through it week by week, which is a little bit slow for me, to be honest. I'd rather work by it day by day. And so perhaps people sign up to courses, and perhaps we choose to go down the roads of looking for things like avatars when we're first starting our business, because structure is helpful, isn't it? It's, it makes you feel like you've got some degree of control, that you're working some sort of system.
I think people think it's a thing they ought to have.
What, a structure and a system, or a webinar?
Yes, and they think they want structure. It's ironic, isn't it? Because the thing that we want, having become self-employed, is freedom.
Yeah.
And as soon as we've got all this freedom, we want structure. I mean, what are human beings like? They're really annoying. That's what they're like.
And we pay large sums of money to get that structure, which really I could...
No, I don't. I've stopped doing that 10 years ago.
Well, I've signed up for these 2 courses because I felt they were the 2 things I was weak at. And you cannot outsource this. This is... Writing sales copy can be outsourced, but as we've seen from the results I've had back, I'm not massively keen on what...
Well, I thought it was very funny, because you said, I didn't laugh at the time, but I thought it was very funny what you said. You said, I bought 3 sales letters, they've come in, they're terribly salesy. It's a bit like saying, I bought a piece of cheese. It's very cheesy.
It's extremely cheesy cheese.
Yeah, I bought some cheese. Gosh, it's just like cheese.
You don't watch First Dates Hotel, do you, by the way?
Certainly not.
Oh,
no.
No.
Does that sound like that has my name on it?
It's so wonderful.
Oh, I cannot bear members of the public in television programmes or radio programmes.
Anyway, this is wonderful. And there were a couple that united over their love of cheese last night. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So coming back to the client challenges of the week then, see, this is one of the things, isn't it? I've been around for 20 years. I've coached people for 20 years on internet marketing. People come into my membership site, and the biggest benefit of that membership site is that they can ask me unlimited numbers of questions at any time they like from their mobile. But that's not what they perceive to be the biggest benefit. The biggest benefit they want to see is the training course that tells them step by step what to do. And so how do trainers and coaches and mentors keep coming up with new ideas to present the same information to the same kinds of people? How do they keep it fresh?
I don't think you can come up with new ideas. All you can do is come up with a new angle.
Which is probably what I've bought, is the new angle to do a webinar, a new angle to work out who your avatar is.
Yeah. Because I've seen you do all of that work before.
I know. So because you don't have a course at all, do you?
No. I want to be with the people. That's why I could have that conversation about avatars with Sarah, then with Tracy, then with Alison, because they're not the same.
Yeah.
't a different conversation with each of the 3 of them, because their businesses are different, and their profile, their wealth profile is different, and their geography is different, and their personality is different, and the way they want to run their business is different. And I have to factor all of that in with them in order to find the ideal solution for them. And I mean, actually, the fact that I know you as well as I do means that when you're telling me your news week by week on here, I can tell what's going to work and what's not going to work. And sometimes I say, and sometimes I don't.
Thanks for that. So, and thinking about it, your marketing, which theoretically should be very difficult because you're not selling a course and you're not selling a step-by-step system, but you do very strongly talk regularly about having conversations and how entrepreneurs like to think with their mouths open and things like that, don't you?
It's interesting that you say theoretically should be very difficult. To me, it isn't theoretically difficult. It's just a lovely thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know. But what you're doing is you're selling the concept of a conversation with an experienced business owner who has worked with lots of different experienced business owners. But you do it.
I'm just selling myself, really. Yeah. Which is why, in fact, the analogy I came up with in the end with Sarah, who was the first person to ask me this question on Monday, who is a podcast listener and actually who hired me from having listened to the podcast. For me, it's like, if content marketing is going to be the way, and it is going to be her way, is it for the other 2? No. One of them's an outgoing personality who supports a profile to go out and meet people. And the other one is probably a content marketer, although she does meet people as well. All three of them, everybody but me, actually seems to like to go out and meet people. But I think it's like fly fishing. You cast your fly upon the surface of a river, which is ideally packed with luxuriant, healthy, fat salmon with a decent bank balance that can easily afford you. Okay, and so there's the pond. Are you fishing in the right pond? Are you casting your fly on the pond of people who can easily afford you? And every piece of content is a different coloured fly, and some flies will be attractive to some hungry fish on some days. And most of the fish will ignore most of the flies most of the time. But your ideal client will hear you or see you or read you and think, that's the woman I need. That's what I do. That's my job. In my marketing, it's all a different way to say the same things. And working with clients is what makes it possible for me to say it in a different way all of the time. There's a piece I've prepared for this week's newsletter, which is a bit naggy, which I'm not happy about. I don't really like nagging people in writing. But, I want them in the listening to us here, in reading me and whatever it is, and listening to me when I'm talking to Georgina in 2 weeks' time, to think, something I've said or some energy I've put across means they can trust me with the innermost secrets of their hearts, the fact that they're worried that they're not really going to be able to make a success of their business so everybody else is. It's me, Nicola, I'm me. And I'm in gazillions of business coaches in the world. I don't feel I have any competition. I just want to work with people who think I can help them. And I know I can help them.
So in order to keep content marketing, this is what we're talking about really, isn't it? Which is what the podcast is and everything. Not just us, everyone who wants to do content marketing comes up with different things. I mean, for example, when I did my survey, I've got 600 responses there. And if I started working through them, I've got 6 on the blog already, and I've got 10 written up. And every single one, when you look at it a bit more deeply, their one biggest challenge they're facing is a different facet of probably about 8 to 10 challenges, isn't it? There's not that many challenges in running a business, but everybody's...
Ooh, I don't know that's true. Last night I had a sleepless night, and not because I was thinking about my clients, but when I was awake, I found myself thinking about a particular client, and I thought she would turn up on my 8 o'clock call this morning, because she usually does, but she didn't. So I wasn't able to say to her what I was thinking about her overnight. And I've talked her, she's one of the few I've talked into what we described as an outbound marketing strategy, where you work out what you want and you go directly to the people and offer it to them, rather than waiting for them to find your content and bite on your fly fishing thing. And it's brought her opportunities, but not the ones we're looking for. And she's pleased with the opportunities that it's brought her, and she should be. But I was thinking in the middle of the night, I wonder how we can tweak it now to get what we actually want, rather than things we're quite pleased to have received. And so that's a thought I've never had before, which I could easily write into a blog post. So that's a unique thought. After 40 years of working with clients in this capacity, I had a unique thought last night. So it does happen, and it's prompted by everything changing all of the time in marketing and business, and everything changing all of the time in my clients and what we're all thinking and feeling.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. If you keep your wits about you and a pen and pad near the bed.
Well, you've got to have your antenna wiggling. You've got to notice things.
Yeah.
And think, so yesterday I had a good writing day. I wrote, I think was it 2 or 3 blog posts and 3 or 4 Facebook notes and a newsletter. When you're on a roll with content, keep going.
I saw you mention on Facebook you're on a roll.
Yeah. And sometimes you think, like today's challenge, you think, oh God, what am I going to write about? What are we going to talk about? It's some days it's harder, even for people like us who are just chock full of ideas, aren't we? Really, mostly.
Yeah. And so we haven't really resolved what we're going to do.
Well, I think we have, actually. I think I've worked out what it is in the last 10 seconds. And it's what I've written this slightly naggy blog post about later in the week, I think. I think that we've cracked most of these problems for ourselves. And so we're not quite so interested by them or engaged with them.
Not convinced that's absolutely true, but
well, I think it is. Yeah, we've cracked most of the problems. Well, I don't believe. We've taken the speak pipe off. I don't believe. It's interesting you should say that with your membership site or your app or whatever it is. I don't believe people ask you questions. I don't believe that. And when I see that yawny internet marketing question about what's your biggest problem with such and such, I think, oh, for goodness sake, the clients don't find that easy to do, to come up with a question to ask. They don't. I don't know why they don't. Whether it's that they don't want to trust you with that if they don't know you yet, or it's hard. Wouldn't it be great if we were just inundated with people, listeners, asking us questions to answer in this section? Has that happened in 118 episodes? No.
No, it hasn't. I think it's because people don't think about it as much as we think a lot. And I think that clients and people are just so busy trying to get on with doing what they think is going to make them a living, that they don't stop and think, what's my next biggest challenge?
Oh, I think they're riddled with doubts and questions, and they're just too embarrassed to ask them.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I have to I've made a little video for my membership site encouraging people that there is no stupid question. And people, someone asked me a question this week and she said, I don't want to be a nuisance. I thought, you just paid to become...
No, well, exactly. And the first person that came this morning said, I haven't really got an agenda today. But I always then think, I didn't say it today, but I always think what Michael Neal taught me, which is, and those are the best ones. Yeah. And she has been kind enough to say before, even when I come without an agenda, I always leave with something useful. And she did leave with something useful. And that's all it is, really, is this... just it doesn't have to be a massive life-changing question. It could be something quite small. I'll tell you what I think it is as well, in my case. It's like, have they gone off with a better energy that's going to help them have a better day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they feel empowered.
Yes. And I want my clients to feel they've got somewhere to come to ask any question that pops into their head, because I can save them time and having to...
Well, there's an avatar for you slightly, isn't there, which is I want to attract people who are happy to ask questions, happy and easy to ask questions, and create an environment where that's possible for them.
Yeah. So are we going? We haven't made any decisions about this client challenge of the week section, are we?
No, we haven't, but I think we'll find some. I think we'll find some. We've got to keep our eyes and ears waggling, and if any listener can think of some questions or is brave enough to send us some questions, bung them in the Facebook group. We've asked before and they send questions and we've always answered them before has been the issue historically, or we can't see how we can spin it into the 15-minute chunk in the middle. But don't let that put you off, gentle listener. Send them. We want them. We're desperate for them. Nicola and I are desperate for your client challenges or opportunities of the week. Yeah.
We need your challenges and opportunities.
We do.
Okay, so word of the week then.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, well, without wanting to dwell on this too much, it's been a challenging week for me. It's Steve's mate contacted me and said that he was organising a golf tournament to commemorate Steve, which is a fantastic idea. I think it's really wonderful. They're all going to get together and probably drink too much and play some very bad golf, because apparently Steve's golf was tragic, even though he thought he was brilliant. And the worst thing is it's the Saturday, 11th of March, and I'm still going to be in Greece. Now, in a way, I'm quite glad, because I think that would be quite a difficult day for me. But in a way, it's a sad thing that I'm not going to be there. And so, but it did sort of start me off on a bit of a few days of being. I felt generally quite a lot more cheerful. Working has helped enormously. Getting straight on what I want to do, going forward in my life, work-wise, has really helped. Being here has helped. Lots of things have helped. Anyway, I had a bit of an up and down week. And so I've had to work quite hard at catching myself. And so my word of the week is internal, because there's someone on Facebook today talking about his depression, and interesting you talk about your client who can help people with depression. Because I think, if you can catch yourself thinking miserable thoughts, I did have one day when I worked very hard at catching what I was thinking and turning it around, but it didn't work for me. Sunday was a day when I cried quite a lot. But I'm better again now. I feel better again. I've got it out of my system. And so what I found myself thinking was, watching Gary Vee always helps because he's so upbeat. He says, don't moan. Nobody's interested. Stop complaining. Nobody's interested. No, you're boring everyone else. It doesn't help you. So I thought, I'm just going to create something. Every time I feel bad, I'm going to push something out there. I'm going to turn the focus from internal to external, and I'm just going to create something and get it out in the world.
I agree with Gary V in the main. I think the one exception is bereavement, and I've never heard you moan in the last year. And I think crying is good because it gets it out of the system.
Yeah, I don't like it much, but sometimes I just can't.
Oh, it's a great release. Just think of it as a release.
Yeah.
And washing it all away.
Yeah. And, watching all the singing programmes helps. I cry at the singing programmes because I'm so happy for the people who are on them. And
I will say that the first two on The Voice, what's it called? The one I'm watching with the other Gary.
Let It Shine.
The first one with Ollie Murs. They were fantastic, weren't they?
Oh, I blooming love Let It Shine. It's my real guilty pleasure.
I mean, again, the Ollie Murs one and then Beverly Knight. I lost interest after that. But the first two groups I thought it was cracking Saturday night entertainment.
Yeah, there's one guy who in the auditions he sang an Alicia Keys song, and that sets me off every time.
I love Alicia Keys. I'm a big fan of hers. I do her karaoke.
Yeah.
Let me just go back to. I've got a soft spot. I might as well announce it here to our 500 downloads a week for Ollie Murs.
I saw him in a Superdrug in Brighton with Phoebe once, and he is tiny but charming and very handsome and twinkly.
Well, if you're ever feeling low, go back to his first X Factor audition. It was fantastic. He sang Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I loved him.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't moan, create something. Had a bad week, managed to catch it, turn myself around, feeling better.
Internal.
What about you then?
Wrong is my word of the week. A preparedness to be wrong can lead to what's right. That's all I'm going to say because you went on a bit.
Cheers, right. Okay, well, we can be quick with the podcast updates.
Okay.
We're steadily accumulating push crew people.
Can you tell me how many?
Well, it's about two or three a week, but they are quite...
Because Push Crew emailed me over the weekend to say, bizarrely, that I'd mentioned Push Crew without it being either a keyword or a hyperlink in my own blog post for last Friday's episode. So not even the show notes, where I think I put it as well. And would I mind hyperlinking to their site?
Yeah, I'm getting quite a lot of these inquiries when I mention other people.
Mm.
I think it's a bit
you can't hyperlink everything. I mean, I hyperlinked it and that was the end of that. But how did they find out that I'd mentioned them if it wasn't either a keyword or a tag or a whatever?
If they've got any sense, they've got a Google alert set up for their own name.
And so you can. Oh, yes, okay, all right.
I've got a Google alert. I know when anyone mentions.
Well, I've got to go Google alert as well, and I didn't think it was in. I didn't think it went down to that level of just an ordinary word, as it were.
Well, I think if it's quite a unique word like that, it would.
Okay.
Let me just. There we go.
No, you've swished past it.
41. We're up to 41.
Well, that's good because the last time you mentioned it was 37, so that's good.
Yeah, it's going upstairs. And when you think our little website doesn't get an awful lot of traffic, it's not where people mainly go.
And I think you should explain to people what Push Crew is, if you wouldn't mind.
It's a free thing where you can actually have a free plan allowing for 500 subscribers. So basically, when you arrive at someone's website and a little box pops up at the top and says, "Would you like to be notified of updates?" If you say yes, it's a browser-driven thing. So it captures the people who don't want to put their name and email in, but who want to keep up with new releases. So it's very.
So it's a list by another name.
It is a list by another name, absolutely. So I've got Push Crew on my website. I've got an app now that I can contact people through, and I've got an email list. And then you've got your Facebook group memberships, and then you've got your Facebook page.
Yeah, and they're all lists by another name in the face of email marketing declining.
Exactly, which I'm so convinced about. Having said that, as someone very well pointed out when they asked me how they get hold of Phoebe to do some video work.
Yes, I know. We did have a laugh about that, didn't we?
I talked to Phoebe last night, and I said, well, what's the best way for people to contact you? And she said they could text me. I said, yeah, but you don't want to put your phone number out on a website, do you? I said, it's all very well for people we know in our private group. She said, oh, well, I suppose they'll have to email me. She said, but I never see the emails. So I went to her website and I put in a stuff on her contact form. And of course, it came in by email. She saw it immediately. We had a bit of a laugh about that as well because she gets notifications the daft. What's it? Anyway. So podcast going along, just trolling along, isn't it? Trolling along, gathering subscribers, gathering fans. Do you want me to should we have a look at the The what's it?
No, I think we probably could nip on. Have you got a lot to tell me in who or what's impressed?
Not too much. No, I can do that.
Well, no, then give me a bit more podcast.
All right, give you a bit more podcast. All right, so now I'm going off to Libsyn, who is our host.
Libsyn's my favourite, actually.
Your favourite what?
my favourite thing to look at when it comes to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. We love a nice graph, us, don't we?
We do.
Especially one that goes upwards. Let's pray it's going upwards, otherwise it's not going.
Yes, otherwise I'm going to be disappointed.
You're going to be self-harming after the.
No, I won't go that far.
You eat a carb or something. Good God.
No, I won't do that either. I'll tell you a carb story while you're looking things up. Did you see what I said this morning about bananas?
I did.
Yeah, wasn't that an interesting thought?
Well, I couldn't quite work out if it meant that bananas have carbs in them or not.
Oh, God, they're rigid with them.
Oh, look at that. That's what you want to see, isn't it?
Oh, a big spike, a big spike, a big spike.
There's nothing sexier than a big fat spike when you go...
Oh, that is good, isn't it?
Oh, that's marvellous.
On January... Well, no, in February, is that?
January the
31st.
We had 629 downloads on one day, Judith.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's very good. Let's go to view all stats and see it in all its glory spread out across the year. Oh, that's so... Look at that. That jumped our January figures higher than December, which were not...
Oh, yeah.
Better than
actually, does that make January our best month ever? I think it might.
Oh, I don't know. No, it doesn't.
Well, that would be good.
It's not blooming bad. Look at that. 3 months. That's 3 months. Where did that come from?
I don't know. What day of the week was January the 31st? Hold on, caller. I'll check. Was it today? The 8th. It was a Wednesday. It was a podcast recording day, but not a podcast day.
It was better than our previous big spike.
Which was Blessed Steve, wasn't it, our previous big spike?
No, it was January the 3rd, 2016. We had 506 downloads.
But, look at those graphs. That looks like grass, doesn't it, that graph? And the grass in 2015 is, well, you wouldn't need to get the mower out. The grass in 2016 is twice as high. Look.
No, we are getting some traction, Judith. And look, if you look at this.
Well, that's the biggest spike I've ever seen. Nicola, it's the biggest one I've ever seen. It's good.
I'm so happy, Judith, that I was able to show you a good thing. Unfortunately, it makes the last 10 days.
Yes, it does, yes. That's very funny. It makes the last 10 days all downhill. But there you go. That's what I'm saying. A preparedness to be wrong can lead to what's right.
No, that's good. And look at the last month. Our averages have gone from, when you start a podcast, it's always, 20 to 30 downloads, unless something miraculous happens and you get mentioned by someone with a really big list. But now you can see our green average bar is between 100 and 150. So, we've gone from 20 to 30, 40 to 50. Then we hovered around for a long time about... 70 to 80, and we're just, our average download figures are rising all the time, and that makes me very happy.
Yeah, that's good.
We're gonna have to pull our socks up now about that middle bit, aren't we?
And on that jolly note, let's move on to who or what's impressed.
Okay. Well, Phoebe impressed me first. She went down the biggest zip line in the world. She travelled to Wales to do it and sent pictures back. I mean, she didn't...
She went down the biggest what in the world?
The biggest zip line in the world.
Oh, God, I'd rather gouge my own eyes out. Yeah.
Into a Welsh quarry.
Yeah.
And they go down head first, Judith, at the top split.
Oh, no, stop it.
And the thing, nobody knew they were going to do it. So the first thing I knew was a little video came in from Phoebe. I thought, what is it? And I could not believe my eyes when I realised it was her being strapped into this monstrous thing.
Yeah, horrid.
But, so Bernadette Doyle, I mean, she did a set of 5, she's got such balls. You've got to admire her. She did a set of 5 live video tuitions on Facebook Live. Go and look at them up, and especially look up the first one. It was her birthday. Everything went wrong that could have done. I was in absolute stitches by the end of it. Halfway through, her phone fell over, which was just so funny. But she was relentlessly cheerful and positive about it. She had a glass of champagne on the go. Her son was helping her. It was everything a Facebook Live could be, and she went on to deliver some absolutely fantastic value. So, I've got to say, Bernadette Doyle, thumbs up. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
Very good.
What about you?
the well-oiled machine that is Her Majesty's Passport Office in London SW1. Last Friday was my goal, 9:45 appointment. You pull a ticket like you do at the deli counter and you wait your turn. P85, go to counter 33, which I did, took 5 minutes. My appointment was at 9:45. I was at home at 10:20 with a cup of coffee on my desk. I was allowed to go back 4 hours later to collect it, 1:45 appointment, back home by 2:30, having got petrol. I mean, it was just the most... I hate bureaucracy, but this was just, you went in one door, you went out another. In the morning, you go in one door, you go upstairs, and you do the thing. And when you come down from downstairs, you go out of another door. And when you go back, you go in around the side of the building, and you go in a little zigzaggy queue. I mean, everything was just dreamy. I can't tell you. It worked like a dream. No queuing, no waiting, no unpleasantness. Yes, a lot of sort of that stuff you do at airport where you snake along this and you have to go through security and they have to look inside your handbag and all that kind of thing. But just heavenly.
Wow. I've heard some horror stories about that, trying to get your passport in one day thing, but obviously they've resolved the issues.
Well, nice modern building, easy parking. Everybody was what Donald Trump would call an immigrant, but who cares? We call them Brits. My guy was called Mohammed. It was fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic, all of it.
The only thing, of course, this is all helped by the fact you actually live in London and can drive.
Yeah, 4 miles, absolutely. 4 miles up the road it was. Mission accomplished, absolute dream. I just loved it.
6 a.m. start for any of us from South Coast.
Well, but you don't have to go to the London one. There are other ones, satellite ones, depending on where you live. But also what everybody's saying on Facebook is that, and the reason I didn't do it on Facebook, hang on a second. Yeah. The reason I didn't do it on Facebook, the reason I didn't do it in the post was because I've got this looming might move house deadline, and it said allow 3 weeks. And given the courier vibe, I thought, I can't risk it. And so I went up there and it was great. But everybody's saying that they're getting it back in the post at the moment in a matter of days as well. They're not even taking the 3 weeks. So
I've got a conundrum about mine. Mine needs doing by July. I've got to go to America in May and I don't get back to England until the 15th of April.
Yeah, you've got to get it before you go, because some of these countries now you've got to have a long period when you come into the country.
Yeah, I've checked on the American thing and I think it'll be fine. But I will have to do this whole getting up at the crack of dawn, paying £1 million to get to London and then going to the passport office like you said.
Well, it's not that difficult, and it's very efficient online, and you've got your appointments at half-hour intervals, and you go back literally on the dot of 4 hours later and fetch it.
So you have to kill 4 hours in London. Good God.
When you're coming back to England?
15th of April.
And when did you go to America?
6th of May.
If you do it the day you get back, you'll probably be all right in the post.
Really?
Because, yeah.
It's France, though, isn't it? Did you say you could do it online?
Well? No, you can't. But you can download the form online, and you can go to the post office and have all your documents checked and pay a $7.95 fee. It says you can't book any travel until you've got the passport. So if you're in any doubt, go.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll sort it out, and I'm sure everyone's deeply interested in our passport.
Well, actually, because the passport is such even particularly now, but generally it's an exciting thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it means you're going somewhere.
Quite. Yeah.
Going is always better than coming back, I find.
Yes, to travel, hopefully. There's a quote, isn't there? To travel, hopefully, yeah.
That's good. Well, if only you could remember it, we would have been able to...
It's to travel, hopefully, is better than to arrive, I believe. I think it might be Mark Twain, but I'll look it up for you and stick it in the show notes.
All right. Thanks very much. See you later.
Okay, see you, babe. Yeah, bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.